Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a really fascinating story from our source material today. It perfectly captures how a tiny, almost invisible shift in your mindset can solve your absolute most frustrating challenges. We're going to look at the anatomy of a crisis, how our brains essentially lock us into panic mode, and exactly how we can break free. So let's just jump right in.
Have you ever been stuck in a situation where literally everything that could possibly go wrong actually went wrong? I mean, think about it for a second. Recall a time when intense stress just made you completely lose your cool. We all know that feeling, right? Your heart rate spikes, you get total tunnel vision, and you can only see the disaster staring you right in the face. Well, the main character in our story today experienced exactly that.
So, let's set the scene. Picture this. It is a scorching hot day. A man is driving his car, and he has a super urgent task in a nearby village. But there's a catch. He's already running incredibly late. To try and make up for some of that lost time, he decides to take a shortcut down a completely deserted, unpaved dirt road. He's stressed out, the heat is absolutely sweltering, and he's entirely isolated.
Now watch how this disaster just cascades. At minute 0, he's rushing, already late. Fast forward to minute 15, and he's fully committed to this desolate dirt shortcut. By minute 30, his car rolls onto a large bridge stretching right over a really deep river, and then, boom, at minute 35, disaster strikes. He feels something is very wrong with the car, stops on the bridge, gets out, and yep, discovers he has a flat tire.
Okay, getting a flat tire is bad enough, right? But what happens next is the ultimate disaster. 4, that is the magic number here. The driver is completely panicked. He's rushing to get the spare tire out, and in his total haste and frustration, he fumbles. He accidentally knocks all 4 lug bolts right off the edge of the bridge. They fall straight down into the deep river below, completely and utterly unrecoverable.
I mean, just consider the reality of this guy's situation. He has a spare tire, sure, but 0 bolts to actually attach it to the car. There isn't a mechanic for at least a 10-kilometer radius. He's on a completely deserted dirt road, so no cars are passing by to help him out. And to top the whole thing off, he's basically baking in this searing, exhausting heat. It is an absolutely hopeless situation. Our driver is trapped, not just physically on this bridge, but mentally, in a state of intense, blinding anger and frustration.
Part 1, the unexpected guide and the clash. Right at the absolute peak of the driver's meltdown, a humble shepherd happens to walk by and politely offers to help. But, completely blinded by his frustration, the driver just snaps. He yells at the shepherd, venting about how all 4 bolts fell in the river, and aggressively demands, "Do you have the bolts? Can you give them to me? No? Then go do your own work." He just rudely dismisses the guy's polite offer, totally convinced that a rural shepherd couldn't possibly understand, let alone fix, his complex mechanical nightmare. This moment actually brilliantly illustrates a really stark contrast. On one side, you've got the driver, right? He's angry, chaotic, and hyperfixated on the missing bolts. He's literally obsessed with what's lost at the bottom of the river. But on the other side, the shepherd remains totally calm and grounded. He isn't flustered by the driver's anger at all. Instead, he simply steps back and assesses the actual reality of the situation in front of him.
Part 2, a brilliant solution.
Let me ask you, if you were stuck on that bridge, what would you do? Most of us would probably resign ourselves to a long, miserable walk or just panic about not having a cell signal. But the shepherd, he calmly lays out this incredibly simple step-by-step logic. Step 1, remove 1 bolt from each of the other 3 good tires. Step 2, use those 3 borrowed bolts to secure the spare tire. And Step 3, drive slowly and carefully until you reach the nearest mechanic. It is absolute genius in its simplicity. It's a completely practical, immediate way out of a supposedly impossible situation.
Why didn't I think of that? As soon as the shepherd says it, the driver has this massive epiphany. He realizes his car can absolutely drive on 3 bolts per wheel temporarily. He's instantly struck by his own ridiculous mental block. And, to his credit, he deeply apologizes to the shepherd for his rude behavior. He admits he was blinded by the heat and his own stress. Then he asks the shepherd a really crucial question. How did you think of that when I couldn't?
Part 3, the art of life. The shepherd explained exactly why their thinking was so vastly different. He told the driver, "The only difference between how you and I were thinking is this. You were thinking about the problem, and I was thinking about the solution. A problem focus just magnifies the issue." The driver kept agonizing over the fact that he dropped the bolts, which created frustration and entirely stalled his progress. But a solution focus, it accepts reality. The bolts are gone, and it immediately looks for the very next best step, which creates action.
This actually brings us to what I think is the most impactful quote distilled from this whole story. The source teaches us that problems are part of life, but getting out of them is the art of life. Problems, flat tires, lost bolts, delays, they're inevitable for sure. They're just a part of living. But the art is exactly how we react to them. When we let go of our obsession with the problem itself and just allow our brains to organically search for the solution, the path forward suddenly reveals itself.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. In your very next crisis, and let's be real, there will be one, whether it's at work, at home, or literally on the road, what will you choose to focus on? Will you stare down into the river at the bolts you've lost, totally trapped in the problem? Or will you take a deep breath, look at the resources you still have, and focus purely on the solution? The choice is entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep this mindset shift in your back pocket for whenever you might need it.